Hello and welcome to Straight Talk. I'm Ayşe Süberker. 2020 was a difficult year for Turkey-EU relations, from disputes in the energy-rich Eastern Mediterranean to French laws that targeted Muslims. Tensions often boiled into public spats. But with the start of a new year, there are signs that both sides want to put past differences to rest. Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said the country's future lies in the West, while Brussels also declared its intentions of having a win-win relationship with Turkey. The year has started off with a ministerial meeting in Brussels that had set the agenda for 2021, concrete steps. That's what Turkey's Foreign Minister Mevlut Çavuşoğlu said was needed to maintain a positive path for relations. He noted some of the key issues include tensions between Turkey and Greece in Eastern Mediterranean, the status of refugees, and how EU countries are tackling growing Islamophobia on the continent. But bringing relations up from their lowest point in decades won't be an easy task. So, what needs to be done to narrow the trust gap that widened so much last year? And to answer that, joining me from Istanbul is Enes Bayrakli. He is the European Studies Director at SETA, a policy and research think tank. And from Vienna, Klaus Jurgens, a political analyst who has written extensively on Turkey-EU ties. Gentlemen, welcome to Straight Talk. It's good to have you on the program. So we're expecting further high-level meetings with Turkish and European officials in near future. So Klaus, what's next for the Turkey-EU relations, and could 2021 be a landmark year for both sides?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. Now, yes, I think it is basically a now or never scenario coming up. 2021 could really be the icebreaker. Now, Turkey so far anyways has done whatever it could, and rightly so demanded more respect from the side of the European Union. There are some critical issues, of course. What will be done with the migrant crisis? What about visa liberalization? What happens in the post-pandemic world? But both sides should now really come together and see how can we take our relationship from here. I would even go so far to say that another 50 years in the waiting room for the Republic of Turkey is a no-no. Hence, the time is slowly running out. It would be a wise move from the side of Brussels now to open the doors to Turkey ever more so, in particular in a post-Brexit, post-pandemic world. But I look reasonably optimistic. I'm still an optimist towards 2021, 2022.
All right. So, Enes, what are the major obstacles that both sides need to overcome? Both sides say they need concrete steps for the betterment of ties. But could you talk to us about those concrete steps? What are they?
There are many issues, between the European Union and Turkey. And many of them are difficult to overcome in a short period of time. There are political developments inside the European Union, which makes a Turkish membership quite impossible in current political atmosphere. The rise of the far-right parties and the rise of the far-right politics. They are objecting a Turkish membership per se. And on the other hand, of course, both actors are interdependent on different fields, and that makes it that force both of the actors to cooperate in different fields. So there are certain areas that this cooperation can be deepened, and I think they have to focus on those areas rather than focusing on the problematic areas and and areas which are very difficult to solve in a
but what
short period of
areas
time.
are not problematic?
I think the economic relations and economic interests are vital and important here. And the modernization of the customs union is very important for both actors. It will help both actors to overcome the negative impacts of the COVID crisis. And I think this is a very rational, there's a very rational interest here for both actors. And I think this is one of the areas. And the other one is the visa liberalization. It will also help to increase the economic activity between the two actors, but also it will also help to solve the image problem of the European Union inside Turkey. because, yeah.
Okay. So, Klaus, EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell said they discussed the way forward to look for mutual strategic interests, the development of cooperation and reciprocal relationship. But what are the strategic interests that the European Union and Turkey share? Let's say Libya, Syria, or Nagorno-Karabakh?
Well, the European Union has now slowly woken up to the fact that it's not only a pandemic, hopefully soon post-pandemic world, but we already live in a post-Brexit world, which no one had expected in 2016, less so David Cameron himself. Now, people should think both. The strategic dimension means that Brussels must understand how to find its geopolitical feet, if it ever had any, back. There is no better partner than Turkey to help them to find these common strategic goals. Of course, it is the Eastern Mediterranean. Of course, it is Syria and Iraq and Libya. And I think listening a little bit to Ankara's experience would help Brussels. I'm not only pointing finger towards Brussels, of course not, but I think we need to think both. There is the economy, there is travel, there is the visa question, there is the migrant situation, but Turkey has so much grown in stature over the past 10, 20 years. It has basically adopted a 360 degrees foreign policy. The EU, more or less, is still not the international actor it wants to be. I think they both should evaluate those strategic goals, indeed.
So, Enes, how has the Greek-Turkish standoff in the Aegean as well as Eastern Mediterranean impacted relations both with Turkey and among the member states?
This is a very complicated problem that Turkey and Greece have in the Eastern Mediterranean, but also in the Aegean Sea, and it's difficult to solve. However, because Greece is part of the member of the European Union, unfortunately, the European Union has become the part of the problem rather than being helping solve this problem. And of course, that I think this is this shows that, as Klaus has said, I mean, the world is entering a period of very rapid systemic changes, and it's not static anymore international system. And the EU is surrounded by crises, different levels of crisis. There is a migrant crisis, refugee crisis. There are civil wars all around the EU. And if EU wants to tackle all this problem, or at least freeze these problems, because these problems are affecting also the domestic politics of the EU countries, and they are destabilizing European Union actually. So the European Union needs Turkey and has to cooperate with Turkey. However, that we know that the foreign and security policy is one of the weakest elements of the European Union. The integration is very weak there, and that's why I think European Union was very slow to adapt the changes around in its surroundings, and that has to be changed if EU wants to really tackle these problems, I think.
Do you think, Klaus, the European Union is willing to tackle these problems? And do you think that the European Union was right to take sides when tensions escalated in Eastern Mediterranean as well as in the Aegean? I mean, could it have taken a more neutral stance, or would it be against the nature of the bloc?
No, we have to remember that Turkey is a candidate country to the European Union and a member of the customs union, and Greece is a member of the European Union, of course. Hence, Brussels should have been much better advised to not take sides unilaterally, but try to mediate, become a real partner, both for Ankara and Athens. And of course, there is the Cyprus issue as well. You have to listen to all sides and then bring them at the table, but not unilaterally saying, we are considering sanctions towards Turkey. We side with Athens only, and we don't want to be seen to actually have a dialogue. This was completely wrong. But as we say in the English language, bygone is bygone. Now it's a new year. Maybe it's a new beginning. I never give up hope. But it was wrong.
Yeah, so, but on the other hand, Enes, there's France which championed this anti-Turkey bloc when tensions rose in the region. So do you believe ties are mendable between Turkey and France? And what do you make of the exchange of letters between Erdogan and Macron?
Of course, it is amendable, and if both actors act rationally, and there are many areas that they can cooperate. And of course, also France has seen that it hasn't gained much from this tension between Turkey and France, especially in the sphere of the foreign policy in Libya, in Nagorno-Karabakh, and in Syria. France has lost this, let's say, struggle with Turkey, because in those areas, France has seen that Turkey is ready to take action and put boots on the ground to secure its national interests, but also stabilize those regions. And of course, France has lost a lot of from this, and now I think it's recalibrating its foreign policy towards Turkey.
All right. So, Klaus, how do you think the new U.S. administration would approach to the transatlantic relations? And do you believe that with Biden administration, the European Union could adopt a more unified vision towards international hotspots?
Well, this is a very tricky question for me. Now, I have commented, of course, on Donald Trump previously before the hilarious, ludicrous, dangerous domestic terror scenario, as we all call it by now. Now, frankly speaking, that was one step, 2,000 steps too far. I am not yet entirely certain whether the Joe Biden administration will immediately embrace the value and the contributions of Turkey. We only have to take a look at the intended and new Secretary of State. The first comments were already, again, a kind of negativity towards Turkey. I think it is not impossible, but we should not expect a miracle, if I may say this in all modesty. It takes probably some time between civil society, the business communities, political leaders, the media, everyone, to find out where are the common objectives and how can we work more closely together. As you mentioned, the EU as well. I think the EU for the time being gives Joe Biden 100% the benefit of the doubt. There was this huge anti-Trump sentiment. Now, let's see how he will tackle and approach his first 100 days. But as I've said, not necessarily expecting miracles.
Yeah. So, Enes, from what you've said earlier, will we see a fully engaged Turkey-EU in 2021?
I think we will see a more positive atmosphere, that there will be more positive statements, and the rhetoric is changed already from both sides. And I hope, and that will lead to further, steps, positive steps in different fields that will benefit to both actors. And the first thing comes to mind is the modernization of the customs union. And then that will lead to, I think, further positive developments in other fields. So we shouldn't expect that the dramatic change in all fields, but I think in certain areas there will be a more positive developments.
All right, gentlemen, unfortunately, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you very much for joining us on Straight Talk.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you're one of the 2 billion plus people who use the messaging platform WhatsApp, you probably saw a recent warning about changes to their privacy policy. Your data, once kept secret, will now be shared with the company's owner, Facebook. But it seems the social media's giant's troubled history regarding user privacy was enough to send millions to other messaging apps. In Turkey, one homegrown option has become an instant hit, as Haydar Abbasi explains.
This is what a global backlash looks like. WhatsApp's 2 billion users have been given a choice: agree to share personal data with its parent company Facebook or delete the app. And it looks like many have chosen the latter. There's been an exodus to other instant messaging apps such as Signal and Telegram. Turkish messaging app BiP is also emerging as an alternative and says it's gained millions of new users since WhatsApp announced the changes to its privacy policy. BiP has more than 65 million users worldwide. The company says it's quickly catching up with Telegram and hopes to reach 100 million users in the next few months. BiP is owned and developed by Turkcell, Turkey's leading mobile phone operator. It promises not to share any data with third parties without getting users' consent first.
So as BiP, we do not get, process or share any data without user consent. And we keep the data in our high security data centers located in Istanbul and Ankara. So, and we also do some operator agreements where we do not have penetration as market. And for those operators abroad with whom we cooperate, their user data kept in their data centers upon their request.
Turkish technology companies are hoping to prove themselves able to provide alternatives to big brand names such as WhatsApp and Telegram. And their ambition isn't limited to instant messaging apps. Despite the coronavirus pandemic decimating businesses around the world, Turkey's tech scene thrived last year. In a sign that Turkish developers are competing with the best in the industry, several companies have been snapped up. In June, American mobile gaming giant Zynga bought the Turkish firm Peak for a massive $1.8 billion, its biggest acquisition to date. Earlier in 2020, Getir, a Turkish delivery startup, made headlines when it received $38 million in investment, $28 million of which came from punters in Silicon Valley. Analysts partly attribute the success of the Turkish startup industry to its young population. Almost half of Turkey's 83 million people are under the age of 30, and more young Turks are choosing to work in digital-related industries. There's also support from the government. In the past 10 years, Ankara has handed out grants and tax breaks worth $50 million to startups. And the government's investment is paying off. Turkey's tech-savvy entrepreneurs are showing they're more than capable of competing with the heavy hitters. Haider Abbasi, Straight Talk.
To discuss what impact this could all have, joining me from Ankara is Ali Taha Koc. He is the head of the Digital Transformation Office at the Presidency of Turkey. Ali, welcome to Straight Talk. It's good to have you on the program. Could you talk about this latest controversy over user privacy concerns and how it has created an opportunity for Turkish companies like BiP to fill that gap and acquire new users?
Sure, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. So I just want to start with saying that, our president always, Recep Tayyip Erdogan always states that, and even he stated in the UN General Assembly that the world is bigger than 5. So nowadays, what we are seeing is the same thing is happening in the digital world as well. In the digital world, we shouldn't leave the fate of some important issues that can concern our country, our nation, in the hands of global digital companies. So if you let me, I can rephrase this statement as digital world is bigger than 5 big international companies. WhatsApp is an app of one of these big international companies. So what happened is, nowadays, with the latest privacy policy update, users were imposed to accept the privacy policy. If not, they won't be able to continue using the app. That's not acceptable. Mm-hmm. We can look at this issue in the 2 aspects. First of all is discriminative policies. The second is protection of personal data. As per the discriminative policy aspects, everybody knows that WhatsApp has adapted distinct privacy policies for the European Union and distinct and different privacy policies for the people living outside of the European Union. That's the biggest difference. And the other thing is the protection of personal data. Again, WhatsApp is saying that European Union member states has their own data protection law in force, which they call it GDPR. But in Turkey also we have our data protection law. And it is a comprehensive law that can cover all the personal data which are located in Turkey.
Then why is this double standard, Ali? I mean, does Turkey need a stronger data protection rule? Because we know that the European Commission fined Facebook in 2017 for privacy issues. So why is that double standard?
So that's another thing. So it's not just for the Turkey, but it's just European Union versus the other side of the world. They're just dividing into two, not just it is specific for Turkey. But what we are saying at the end, I would like to emphasize that there shouldn't be any difference in terms of the protection of personal data between the users in Pakistan, Turkey, Germany, Japan. My data is more valuable, or my data needs to be protected better than the others. This kind of perception, at the end of the day, this kind of perception is against human rights. What we say in short is digital data rights of all the people around the world must be the same, and all the data must be protected the same way.
So if we could get back to my question, what kind of opportunity this has created for Turkish companies like BiP to fill the gaps?
So that's a big opportunity. If you look at the numbers, inside the Turkey and as well as outside the Turkey, in Bangladesh, Pakistan, and India, we are seeing lots of new registration of the BiP users. So, but overall, what needs to be done in this respect is we always state that the data ownership and data awareness. So there are three different stages that we call. Most of the people and the common mindset is pretty naive. What they say is, I don't care if the apps are using their data or not. We need to move from this stage to second or the third stage we call. The second stage is questioning stage. So nowadays, because of all these issues, people around the world start to question what is going on. Why these apps are using my location data? Why these apps are reaching my contacts? So this is a nice improvement with respect to data privacy, but it's not enough. The ultimate goal is, which we call it the third stage, is ownership stage. So people need to believe it that the data that they produce belong to them. So it's like your car, your house, your dress. If you digitally produce the data, that data belongs to you.
Yes.
If someone wants to use it, so what they need to do is they need to get the permission or user consent. With this respect, what I can say is the BiP and the other apps that we build in Turkey are complying with this data protection law, and they ask for the user consent or the permission before they are using the data.
Yeah, so we talked about it. BiP has been downloaded more than 60 million worldwide and won 8 million users from places like Bahrain, Pakistan, Indonesia, Oman, Saudi Arabia. So has Turkey's soft power translated into the tech world as well?
Yes, definitely. So what's happening is, so all these companies are talking about that this is a freedom of speech, but the freedom of speech comes with if you have alternatives. So with this Turkish tech companies trying to bring the alternatives. So we are always recommending all the people around the world, if you want to use a social media app, please use more than one. If you want to use an instant messaging app, please use more than one. If you want to use a search engine, please use more than one, because freedom of speech comes with alternatives. So with the BiP, Yani, Dedi, Yay, so with all these kind of technologies, Turkish technologies, we are trying to bring the Turkish engineering power, and that we are trying to bring the alternatives to the people for the sake of the freedom of speech. So if you look at the numbers, we can see that around the world, especially in the Bangladesh, in the India, in Pakistan. So and also we are going to use the other soft powers of our TV series in this respect, such a way that we're going to promote more Turkish technology.
So how can BiP, let's say, or other Turkish-made products reach beyond the traditional markets we've just mentioned? And where does the Balkans, for example, or Europe in general stand for Turkish tech companies?
So again, in order to access to market is so crucial for digital technologies. So that's the reason that currently the Turkish companies are starting to promote different ads and different campaigns to broadcast, because the awareness is also there. Most of the people are not aware that there is a new application called BiP. So because of that, these companies are trying to promote themselves, because everybody knows these big 5 companies' products. But if you are in a newcomer into the market, you need to definitely do a little more job work. And with this respect, most of the Turkish companies are dealing with the TV series actors or actresses because they are so more popular in these regions. So hopefully in the future we're going to see some of these ads, which is played by the actor or actress of this famous TV series of Turkish traditional TV series.
All right, Ali, unfortunately, we're out of time. Thank you very much for joining us on Straight Talk. And that's all for this edition of Straight Talk with me, Ayşe Süberker. If you've got any comments, follow us and tweet us at Straight Talk TRT. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, take care and goodbye.